Aha Moments is brought to you by Das Fort Media.
Hi, I'm Alena Chapman, an author of You Can't Escape from a Prison If You Don't Know You're in One. And this is Aha Moments, the moments that you realize awareness and, if you choose to listen, leads you on a journey of growth. Join me to explore people and their aha moments along with the awesome journeys of growth that happen for them. Hi, I'm Alena, and you are listening to the Aha Moments with Alena. And I want to welcome my guest, Lisa Schrader, who is a magnificent person who has seen an aha moment and taken action on it. And I just have to say, she is one of the strongest women I know. She has just done so much this past year, and I thought I have got to get her on the show. So I want to welcome Lisa Schrader to our show.
Well, thank you, Carrie. It's a pleasure to be here, and I am ecstatic about sharing my experiences with you.
Oh, I'm so glad, because you have accomplished so much in this past year. But anyway, the first thing I want to start with is, well, tell us a little bit about your aha moment.
Well, my aha moment came from I was in a relationship, a long-term relationship with an individual that I truly felt like that was going to be the love of my life, my future. It was going to be someone that was basically going to be the forever in my life.
The forever key to your life. I know.
Absolutely.
The knight in shining armor.
The knight in shining armor.
Yes.
The person that was going to love me to my soul.
Yes.
And as I spent the first year was very, very good with that person. And the next 3 years, I kept myself in a prison. And it took that amount of time to realize that there was more to life and that I loved myself enough to get myself out of that prison.
Okay. And in that prison, you felt like, I mean, what made you feel that you were in a prison with this so-called knight in shining armor and this wonderful, the person who was supposed to be the love of your life forever? I mean, what was it that didn't guide you right, did not create that environment that you wanted?
Well, the environment was not the full circle of life, as I would call it, was that we did not have in that relationship that we had the camaraderie and the full circle of both our families and our children, and that we covered each other's back, that we were each other's best friend, a partner.
A partner. Yeah, somebody who's not only the knight in shining armor, but the partner, the best friend, the everything.
Exactly.
I understand.
Exactly. And so a separation came about that truly separated the relationship, but being the stoic person that I was and having a tremendous amount of strength, that I wasn't willing to give it up. And there were times that I should have done that, but maybe looking back, the embarrassment and him being a very public figure, that I felt like I was the failure in the situation.
Yes, and that often happens.
Yes.
Yeah. And we're just not listening to ourselves. You know what I mean? When that happens. And I did the same thing. I mean, I stayed in mine for 8 years. And I knew it. But I kept trying to, and I'm not saying that everybody always has to leave, but you try to fix it, and if it's not fixable, it has to happen.
Absolutely.
And just recognizing that it's not what you thought it was going to be.
Right.
I totally understand that. I totally get that. So then what was the aha moment that really said, that is it, I am not going back, or I am going to fix this, or I am going to make this better, or I'm going to make myself better? What was that aha moment for you?
Well, I believe that there were several aha moments. I don't actually think in a relationship that you have one aha moment.
Okay. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
you have several
That's
aha
true.
moments that lead you to different plateaus.
Yes. That's
So
life, actually. Life does that.
life leads you to different plateaus. So we had actually lived together, and he had grown children, and they were not acceptable. And we were actually in a home that had belonged to he and his past wife. He was a widower. And
Yeah.
I felt like that the grown adult children were not accepting to me being in that environment. So I
Okay.
struck out being what I felt like was a very, very strong situation and proving myself out, and moved out of the home, out of the live-in relationship, and purchased a farm outside of the city, got myself into an environment that was more me.
Yes. Because you were not finding you in there.
No, I had put myself from being a very country farm girl into a city environment, and bending and accommodating another human being to what he wanted me to be. And I felt like being in love, that was the right thing. That was what I should do. And as I was not accepted in that environment, I got strong enough. I had built a new career. I had gone into the real estate business and thought, well, if I can't find a healthy relationship here in this home, that I should strike out, find my own place. And he actually followed me to that environment.
Right.
And the healthy thing was that I should have been strong enough to just stay there as an individual, and did not do that. And he did follow, but what happened in that situation was a matter of control, that was going on in that environment between his children and between he and myself.
Right.
And
Right.
I didn't break away. I just let the prison follow me to a new prison
And
cell.
Lisa, you know what? I know. And so many people do that. That is very common. I mean, people think they're changing, or they'll try to get out of a prison of whatever, but they also don't understand what brought them into that prison. And so then they end up bringing the prison with them. They think by getting a new job, or, it's the famous thing of people thinking, okay, I can just move. You always hear people, I can just move to a new town and start over. I love that. I have actually a best friend who does that. She just moves. And finally, she got it. She was you're dragging yourself with it. You're dragging all the conditions, you're dragging all the things
The baggage.
and also the mind thought, the thoughts that have to change in order to change the whole situation. And so you bring that all with you, and before you know it, they're in a new situation, they're in a new town, they can start over, and yet they're getting the same things. They're in the prison again. So then they move again. So you learned. I mean, you learned on the first one. So
I went from
That's good.
one prison to a new prison
yes,
cell.
you did.
Exactly.
But it only took you 2. So isn't that great?
So I moved to a new prison and moved to a country setting, which was truly my being. And being a farm girl, and took a show horse and got myself back in an environment and focused on my career and had a lot of success. But in the process of being stronger and finding success was that it intimidated him.
Yes. It put him on the protective side because he was losing control of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I moved to a new environment, had success, fell in love with myself again.
Ah.
Yes.
And that's so important. And it is important to value yourself, and anybody who truly loves you would want you to do that, because you have so much more to offer if you value yourself.
Correct. So I made new friendships, I had neighbors, I had the love of my livestock, my horses, my gardens. I was renovating a home, and what went from being a very average, run down, run of the mill farm turned into a very spectacular, beautiful, warm environment.
Yes,
and
I've
it was
seen it.
very intimidating to him.
Right.
Because as a high-end professional, he was not the center of attention.
Yeah.
And the attention turned to me.
Well, yes. And he couldn't have that at that time.
Yes.
But in the meantime, while you're building up all this, you're building your world. That helps to strengthen you, which is good.
Yes. And as the strength built, it broke down the relationship.
Okay.
And it intimidated him and his family to see a very strong woman, that they put a lot of self-doubt in him for that.
And I'm sure that when you were in this relationship and you had to build up your world, because you had to build up what you thought of yourself. I mean, it just has to be. You have to love yourself. You have to feel good about yourself. And you were in a situation that you did not. So what you were doing was totally correct. But when you got there, you didn't see any situation where you could mend the two together, where he could be accepting of what you loved and who you truly were.
Exactly. And
that's where a problem
it
comes.
intimidated him because the focus of his ego was to be about him.
Okay. So then when did you say, I don't know what to do here, or something happened where because you totally switched. You now are living a totally different life than you were before. What was that switch? What was that aha moment that just made you say, this, I can't do this anymore?
Well, it was not an overnight situation.
Okay.
At all. It actually took 2 years.
Okay.
And it was a back and forth situation. I think a lot of women put themselves in the position of self-doubt about who they are and their strengths.
Yes.
And when they're with a strong, very high-profile man, that they tend to step aside and give him the center stage. And they allow themselves to be put down. And I will only brief on this just a touch. Is there was a matter of, I would call it emotional and verbal abuse.
Yes, I know.
And it put you on a different level of who he was, whether it was my job or whether it was the farm or being in a garden or redoing a home that was starting to turn into a very beautiful, beautiful, warm place, that you were demeaned for those issues. And you got to the point of where you did not feel that you had any bit of self-worth.
Right.
In the relationship.
Right.
So it went on actually for 2 years, and it was actually a bit of a shameful situation, because when you publicly would think about that you needed to get out of this, that you doubted yourself about, can I do this? What will people think?
Yes.
Are you strong enough? I was threatened with that I would lose my business in the real estate industry.
Right.
I was a real estate broker. I had built a career within that time frame, and that, it was a threat, to move on from this situation, and I felt like I wasn't strong enough to, move on.
Well, and that happens to a lot of women, but anytime anyone makes a change, they always feel that criticism coming upon them. You know what I mean? That people won't accept it. It's not just for a situation like that, but yes, it's totally. And do you also see that the more you were becoming yourself, he was losing more and more control?
Absolutely.
And so that's why he had to stretch more and more and more out into the abuse to try and rein you in. And It's not good. It's very sad. And that's just not a relationship that is good to be in. But then you decided that you needed to move forward. And he's not in your life anymore, is he?
No, I have asked him to remove himself from my life and my property and home. And the aha moment was, and I've had a couple actually, and I had many aha moments that, whether it was going out to my show horse and being demeaned for spending time, or the aha moments that he would not blend me into his family and I was allowed whether to go to a lake cottage and be part of that and be left home, or that I was not truly good enough in that relationship to be part of him, and spent a lot of time alone. And
Right.
in that process of being alone, what he did not realize was that I was building up a lot of strength, because
Yes.
the fear of being alone was not that intimidating anymore.
No.
And the aha moment came that one morning we woke up, and I have a lot of pride in what I have earned over many, many years within my home and pretty art and different things. And we had spoke about being disrespectful to the things that I owned within my home. And
Okay.
I woke up
Yes.
one morning, and purposely he had been disrespectful to some of the furniture and different things in the home. And when he was basically, I never said a word. I removed the item that was destructive to an antique, and when I set
Oh
it on
my.
the floor,
Okay.
he came unglued and used a lot of verbal abuse. And I realized that my aha moment was that for the past 2 weeks I had cried every morning before 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my.
So I was starting every single day before 6 o'clock in the morning in tears and emotionally broken down.
Okay. Okay. That's a
And
very big aha moment. Yeah.
and that, how do you when you're totally at the bottom rung of a ladder
That's
and
right.
broken down? And that person that you
Where
get
you
up
don't
to
need to
every
be.
morning should be your partner, that person that lifts you, that tells you good morning and sends you
Mm-hmm.
off in a positive mode. And this person did not want to give me that boost to be successful and happy.
So what did you do?
I went actually for a couple more months. We had gone to a conference together in Indianapolis, and he asked me to come along. And I realized at one moment he was walking 50 feet ahead of me and making me walk
Hmm.
behind him.
Oh my.
And that I realized that that partner that I wanted in my life was to walk beside me and not be ahead of me and leave me behind. And
Okay.
that this human being had left me behind in his life, and that his ego was so much more than me, that never was this going to be a partnership that would allow me success, happiness, and love.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. And then you decided.
I decided to ask him to remove himself from my home,
Did
which
you?
was my home.
It was your home, and you had sort of a defining moment at that point, didn't you? Where you just thought, I can't live this way. I want to move forward. Did you have that kind of defining moment, or?
Well, there's a touch of humor to that moment, that I had many friends that were behind me, and I think this is very, very important as a woman, that you embrace those great friends.
Of
And
course, always.
my true friends stood by my side, and they did not judge, and I knew they were not happy with the decision to stay with him, but they embraced me to the end of that decision and that aha moment. And one of my very close friends told me that it will be the strangest, oddest moment that you will get to, because she had been in an abusive relationship, and that when you get to that point, it will be the oddest thing that will send you over the edge.
That's true. That's very true.
And on my farm, I have the sweetest, most gorgeous little Australian Shepherd dog that is
yes.
a part of every social event and adores everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And he has become a touch blind from cataracts. And he was trotting across the backyard, and I saw him bump into the barn door. And I had said to my partner at that time, "Aw, poor Blue. So sad. Look at him. He bumped into the barn door, and it makes me sad that at his young age that he's going through this blindness." And he said, "Would you mind if I go get a gun and we'll just shoot him instead of dealing with him?"
Oh, not cool. No, 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 no. All right.
And at that moment, I decided that he needed to remove himself from my property and my life, and that was another aha moment that I struck out.
You got quite a few aha moments.
I had many aha moments, and I don't really believe that people just have one aha moment.
No.
I think it's a buildup of aha moments that bring you to the pinnacle of it's time to move on.
I think that's true. Especially, it's funny with aha moments. If you don't get it when it's earlier, it does just kind of climax, kind of pushes you to change your life. Well, talk about how your life has changed now. I mean, what are you doing now? Because I think you are doing fantastic. But you also read the book. I know that.
I read your book, and
yeah, I know that too.
It really struck close to home. And
wow.
When you read your book, it's something that you can go back to 10, 15 times when you feel a touch of weakness, and embrace your situation, because each chapter will affect different points in your life and different situations. And I had read your book. You gave it to me in a very rough copy.
Yes, I did. It wasn't even published.
Exactly.
It was just there.
And it really touched my soul.
I wanted you to have it. Good.
But in the process of that, it really brought to the forefront those issues that I needed to grip and take a hold of in my personal life, because I always in this relationship felt like it was about him, and really my life needed to be more about me, because I was with a man that hadn't truly committed. He had given me an engagement ring. He wouldn't set a date. He was living under my roof and did not step forward, but beat me down about the fact that, you know, where I lived was a crap hole, and my life and my job, and that just was not cool.
No, it's not cool.
Because your true partner builds you up,
and
that person
supports you.
Correct.
Supports you and lives with you.
And it was just time to get out of the prison, and I was actually ashamed that I put myself in that prison.
Well, a lot of people are. Of course. That's very normal.
Yes.
But you should forgive yourself. And for anything that you feel you had a part of, you forgive yourself and let go. There is nothing to be ashamed about, because it's just is. That's just what happened. But now you let it go, because it's not part of you anymore.
It is not part of me.
But you learn from it.
Absolutely. And what I have learned is we learn from our mistakes. We learn more from mistakes than we learn from thinking that we're going to move forward. And
you know what? That is very famous. In As a Man Thinketh, it even states that. It talks about we learn so much more from the mistakes. In our lives, we learn from our mistakes. They're there for a reason. But the idea is to learn from them and then to move on, so that we don't go back into those prisons, that we move forward into our goals. And for whatever reason, we had to live those mistakes. But we move on from them.
Well, I think a lot of people have a hard time forgiving themselves for those mistakes, or the public aura of that you're worried about what people think about those mistakes.
And yes, I know. And that takes, as the more you work and the more you learn about yourself and accepting of yourself and accepting of all the wonderful things you've built. I mean, really, truly, from the time that you have broken free, okay, you have built that place of yours into just a beautiful place. And the sheep and the horses, my gosh, you know, they're you can tell they're happy. Blue's happy. You have just a beautiful place. Plus, you are looking forward into careers that you love. I mean, you are moving forward.
Absolutely. And through going from a situation that brought heartache, and you tend to look back and find your true self.
Yes.
And in the process of being in a relationship with a partner that did not accept the environment there, that environment, what I have learned is my true self. And coming from a farming and an agriculture background,
right, exactly.
I have even rethought my real estate broker career as that I am now trying to get into a new occupation, career, and dealing with going back to that, going back to my roots and that happiness and where my soul feels good and happy.
And isn't it time?
It is time.
But it takes that knowing yourself, which is what you have done. You've worked very hard on yourself.
And being strong.
And being strong. But the strength comes from, and I know you have gone through, you know, and sometimes that forgiveness takes a heck of a lot. I know that because I went through the forgiveness, I don't even know how many times. But when you do that and you let go and you gain more strength, and you will find the more you start going towards your goal and you learning more and more about who you are, because it's a journey. It's a journey. You will find more of acceptance and peace and serenity. And that idea of what people think of you matters less and less and less and less.
That is absolutely true. And as you go through that transition, you are going to make mistakes. You are going
forever
to make sometimes the wrong decisions. You're going to carry some baggage from that relationship and make decisions that affect others that you may truly be sorry you did that, or but I think the chapter in your book that has, I don't think I know, the chapter that has affected me the most in your book is the forgiveness. And I know that between you and I, we spoke about this. And until you truly forgive yourself for those missteps in your life that maybe others have judged you on, that you have judged yourself, your family, your children. I have grown children. I know that maybe they judge what you have done, or in that relationship and the public side of it, maybe you've gone on to another relationship and you've made missteps.
That happens.
It does happen because you carry that baggage over into it, that the forgiveness of yourself is so, so very important.
It is, because you start accepting yourself.
Because you accept yourself, that you have become human.
Yes. Yeah, you're human. But you're ever evolving too.
Absolutely.
And that learning process, and it is a learning process.
And I would actually rather that someone would accept me as being human and having the integrity to say, I'm very sorry, I made the wrong decision. But I'm willing to make myself a better person than hold that grudge over you for the rest of your life. And the forgiveness, and even in that relationship, I will say, and I think this may be a surprise to you today, is that I have gone back to that relationship and talked to him and told him, I am very sorry for what we have been through.
I am so proud of you.
And that's huge, because there was a lot of damage in my heart and soul, and it damaged a lot of people around me.
Well, yes. Do you know how huge that is, Lisa?
That is like taking a ton of bricks off of your back.
You must have felt it.
And he did. And
I
when
bet he
you
did.
see that in another human being, that you have relieved them of the fact that you have forgiven them for what they have done, that maybe it was abuse or putting you down, that you have released them also from their badge of shame.
That's right. That's right. But most important, you've released yourself.
And that is the prison that you should release yourself
And that's
from.
exactly the prison you need to release yourself
So it gives
from.
you the ability to go on and move into a new life and a new world and a new career and new partnerships, and that life moves on.
And do you feel you're doing all that now?
I do.
Yay.
There is,
Very
you
good.
always have a bit of fear
Sure.
as to the unknown, but absolutely it makes me stronger to go on and tackle tomorrow.
Fantastic. And you are doing wonderfully. I am very, very proud of you. Well, I thank you. I thank you so much for being on the show.
You're welcome. I
And,
hope I inspire people who have been in relationships or
I
tough
most
spots
definitely
or
think you
self-doubt
have.
that you have to move on.
Self-doubt. You can learn more about me by visiting alenachapman.com or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram.